Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us today, this afternoon. Thank you for your patience. I'm Alyssa from IBF Careers Connect. Now, before we start the session, we would like to request for all questions to be posted in the Q&A window. If you hover over the screen, you would see it at the bottom of your screen, and you can enter that into that section for speakers to respond live via audio. So without much further ado, please welcome my colleague, Mr. Adrian Wu, and our esteemed guest speaker, Mr. Lee Lung-Nien from Chairman Citi Private Bank, South Asia. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Give me a second, just pulling up, making sure that my technology works well. Okay, for the people that are here today, thank you. I know that people are still streaming in. We have, roughly a quarter of the people that sign up, so I'm sure that more people are coming in at some point. Thank you again for everyone for joining us today. Very, very pleased to have Lung here with us. Again, just to reiterate some housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, just type them in the box and then we will try to answer as many as time permits. Due to the nature of this conversation, I get a feeling that the questions will be a little bit more philosophical than technical, but we'll see. Okay, so before we begin, just a little bit of shameless self-promotion. My name is Adrian and I'm a career advisor at the IBF. And on a daily basis, my team and I, we work with job seekers and we try to help them along their career journeys. We also work with FIs as an additional avenue to get their jobs filled, hopefully with the job seekers that we meet. So for everyone out there, if you need help on career advisory, I hope you don't. But if you do, or if you're hiring, stay tuned for the email address that will be flashing at the end of the session and write in to us. Okay. So now, I'm very excited to have Lung here with me today. Okay, I followed this man's social footprint and I've enjoyed all the content he's posted. And the reason I like it is because it's just very relatable and in my mind, very useful when I consider the demographics of the people that my team and I serve, right? So in addition to, his banking career, he's also very multifaceted. For the people who know or may not know, plays drums, perform in Gurmit Singh. That's what I found out that long. So I don't know about you, but I consider myself multifaceted myself. So I definitely want to learn a thing or two from him today. Okay, so I don't want to spoil too much because I think he's gonna give us a bit more of a rundown of his history. So without further ado, Lung, thank you so much for making the time to do this today with us.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Pleasure to be here. I think when Adrian reached out to me via LinkedIn to ask me to speak about giving career advice, giving general advice on attributes for success, I couldn't help but accept the invitation. I believe IBF within the banking and finance world is like the institute that we all look up to, and basically is our, I wouldn't say governing body, but basically our certification body, right, for training. So
and you forgot also I'm quite persuasive lah.
Oh, very persuasive. Very persuasive.
Okay, so Lung, I mean, for the people here today, I just wanted to reiterate, this is a very organic conversation. We didn't really have a time to rehearse, and I think it's better that way because everything comes from the heart. So, I'm going to be asking Lung some of the questions that I've really thought long and hard about, and basically that stem from the questions that I get when I meet my job seekers. Okay, some of the burning things that they ask me about. But before I do that, I think the first opening salvo is, Lung, you've been with Citi for 32 years, right? So I'm very, very curious about, in this time, can you walk us through your career history, your career path, and this really ties into the who you know versus what you know, right? Because
sure.
How you managed to latch onto these roles and things like that.
Yeah, thanks. A very common question that people ask, right? Because in this day and age, not many people stay for 32 years. So my simple approach is actually nobody wants me, so I just stayed on. But truth be told is, in any organization that a person joins, it needs to be fun, right? It needs to be in an organization that allows you to grow, to develop, to take on challenges, and gives you satisfaction. So if I look at my 32-year career, I've gone through approximately 13, maybe even 14 different roles. So if you divide, 12, 13 roles by 32 years, right? Or 32 divided by 12, that gets you about 3 roles every, 3 or 1 role every 3 years. So I started in 1990 as a credit analyst. My background is actually in marketing. When I came out of university in Hawaii, and I noticed that Jeannie Lam is on this Zoom call as well. Jeannie is with my university, Chaminade University in Honolulu, Hawaii. Right. When I came out of school, I applied to Citi as actually I was a marketing major. Wanted to do advertising, wanted to do everything fun, but speaking to different people said, why don't you go and join a bank? I had no idea about banking at that point in time. I said, okay, let's go and join the bank. So I joined the bank and became a credit analyst in Citi. Did that for about 2 years. That role was about analyzing corporates' balance sheet, giving credit facilities, lending them money basically, and approving lines for them to trade. So I did that for 2 years. And then one day, the guy that was in front of me turned to me. He said, hey, Long, do you know this department called Treasury Marketing Unit? I said, no, tell me. He said, these guys are FX salespeople. It's a very easy job. You just buy low, sell high. That's all you need to do. And you're on the phone. There's no paperwork. You start work at 7:30 in the morning, and then you finish at 6. And that's it. And I'm like, yeah, sounds like something I could do, right? So I applied. I interviewed for the job. And guess what? I got the role. I did that for about 3 years as a salesperson, FX salesperson, talking to corporate clients. And then the bank gives me the opportunity, says, Long, would you like to go to New York? Now, when you are 32 years old, right? New York back-ins, right? New York, they offer you this opportunity. And I just got married then. My wife and I, we speak to each other. We said, hey, listen, you want to go to New York now? I mean, who wouldn't, right? No kids, just 2 of us going to New York. Why not? So we packed up and we go. And guess who we meet in New York? Okay, I digress a bit, right? Nam-Sin.
Oh, I know him. I know him.
IVF.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah, your boss, your big boss. So I've known Nam-Sin since 1996. Okay, that's where we met in New York. And in New York, I was dealing FX with the hedge funds, asset managers, investors. Then I come back to Singapore about a year later after the 1-year training. I run the Singapore sales team. And then the year approaches about 2000 during the internet boom, right? Back then, see, most people in this room here deal with online trading. You want to buy stuff, you want any information, you go on online, you can find almost anything. But back then, we talk about 22 years ago, the internet was just developing, right? The bank and everyone was leaving the bank, banks, leaving organizations to start up their own internet company. But the bank gave me the opportunity. He said, look, Long, we don't have an online trading platform. We don't have a website. This is for the dealing room, right? This is for the markets business. Why don't you go help us build something that clients can use? I had no background in technology, in operations, but go ahead, let's go get it done. So together with a small team of 4 of us, we basically built the bank's online trading platform, and also got our markets website up and running. And a year after that, after it got up and running, the bank says, you know what? Would you like to go to Malaysia to work? So I'm like, why not? Malaysia is up the road. Go and become the sales and trading head for the dealing room. So packed up, went away for 4 years. Come back, run sales for ASEAN, then run sales for Asia Pacific. So this is sales for corporate clients again, FX, options, derivative structuring. So 27 years have passed already. I was in the markets business for about 25 years. Then I asked myself, do I want to do this forever? Time for a career change, maybe. So the bank says, yeah, we'll give you the opportunity. Would you like to be Chief Operating Officer for Singapore? You learn about consumer banking, learn about operations and technology, learns about private banking, you know, everything, whatever you want. Just get your hands dirty. Why not? Pull myself out of the dealing room, became CEO Singapore, helped build Asia Square, and then go away for holidays 2 years later. On the way back, I get this phone call. I remember it was December 22nd. December 22nd, 2012. My boss calls me up and he says, hey, Lung, you know what? Stephen and Anthony want to speak to you. These are the regional bosses. You know what? They got a proposition for you. We want, I said, okay, what could this be, right? Can't be good news, right? You come back from holiday, your boss tells you they want to talk to you. So I was in Hong Kong, I landed in Hong Kong, transiting, and they say, look, we've got a problem in Malaysia on the anti-money laundering hub, right, where we outsource a lot of stuff. Can you go fix the problem for us? And I'm like, hey, firstly, I'm not a compliance person, right? I'm not a governance controls person. I'm not AML. I'm markets. I'm the front office. I'm probably the guy that created all the problems, right? And they said, yeah, perfect. You're the type of guy we want. Go and solve the problems for us. So I, okay, and when do you want me to start? He said, well, today's December 22nd. How about first week of January? And I'm like, you know what? This week, close lah, 3 weeks later. But then, you know, about a month later, I was in Malaysia. Did that for 2 years. Then they say, look, become the CEO role for Citibank Malaysia comes up. Apply for it. Would you like to apply for it? So I applied for it, interviewed, got the job. Was CEO for Citibank Malaysia for 6 years. And then after 6 years, 1.5 years ago, the private bank calls up, asked me whether I wanted to become chairman of the private bank, coming back to Singapore. And so that is my career journey, you know, within the last 6 minutes, explaining the last 6 minutes.
That's awesome. Okay, so here comes the thing that I think that if any of my job seekers are in the audience, I think this is what they want to find out. Okay, like so 12, 13 jobs in that 30-year career, right? And it seems as though, you know, you get tapped on the shoulder. Okay, so why you? As in, like, what made them always, you know, get attracted to you? So I think that from job seekers' perspective, I think they probably want to find out how do I make it me? How does
Fine. Okay, so let me give you a couple of and to go back to your headline banner today, right? It's what you know and who you know type thing, right?
Yep.
So let's always go back to that, because I think that's what attracted people to come into the Zoom call today. There are two parts, right, in everything, and it also applies to how I recruit. So there's firstly IQ, which is the what you know, right? And then the who you know and all is the EQ bit, right? So I would say IQ is very important, technical know-how. The good thing about technical know-how is you can learn. Take courses, join IBF courses, you know, upgrade your skills, whether it's online, in person. So that is one of the hygiene factors. Get your technical skills up and running, right? If you wanted to be to know about anti-money laundering, take courses around that, so you can speak fluently and you become technically sound around a particular topic. The more difficult of the two is the EQ bit, which is the how, right? How do you go about doing it? The who you know, how you. So remember I told you when I wanted to move to the dealing room, and I applied for the job. You have to be a bit thick-skinned. I mean, that's life. You got to ask for things. So I went to speak to the boss before applying, and I said, look, I'm interested in joining TMU, without actually knowing about the job. And the boss then, Eric, then said, you know what? Reality is no one in my team ever quits. Okay, fine. I said, but let me put my hand up, put, my ticket in the hat, and when the time comes, let me know lah. Lo and behold, 3 weeks later, someone quits. And because I just spoke to him, I'm top of mind. So the first thing is you need to be top of mind in any situation. Now, it could be moving departments is one, or two, networking, making sure that you reach out to people, right? To say that, look, you're interested. In reality in life is this, if you wait for things to happen, you wait for someone to reach out to you, it ain't gonna happen. You got to reach out to people to get things done. Okay, so to your question, why Long, right? Why me? How come I got the job? Firstly, there are a few things here, and these are my own learnings, my own journey, which I will share with all of you. Firstly, you must be able to take on roles that you may not like. Okay, like the AML job, like the e-commerce job that I did. Those were very tough jobs. They were not inside my area of expertise, but I was inside the organization already, but I still went ahead to do things, right? Because bosses like people who willing to step up to the plate when asked to, right? When I ask somebody to do something, they're like, yes, boss, can be done. Let me sort it out for you. As compared to someone whose attitude is slightly more negative. Well, I don't know whether it's me. I don't know whether I can do it, right? So, and this I'll digress a bit. This is where the gender piece comes in. We talk about gender diversity and women at work and all. And I'm a part of the bank's Women Affinity program, right? When you ask a guy or whether they can do a job, if they can do 10% of the job, they will say, you know what? No problem, can be done. No problem. Give it to me tomorrow. I'll do it for you. Ladies, on the other hand, will take a more conservative approach. They need to be 100% sure. I'll make sure I'll try my best. Okay? Step up. Be counted. Right? Be positive. So the second point, besides taking on different roles, the second point, you must have a positive attitude. Being positive about anything it's half the battle. Hiring managers always want people who are positive. Have you spoken to colleagues before whom everything you put to them, you ask them to do anything or you ask them for advice, they will the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, yeah, very difficult. I don't know whether this can be done. We did this before. Very negative, right? And the reality in life is if you hang out with negative people, you become negative as well. So be positive, right? People ask me, hey, Long, are you a half cup full, half cup empty type person? I say, you know what? My cup overfloweth all the time. Everything can. We try, right? If we fail, at least we tried, right?
Yeah.
So very, very important. So that's one thing. So those two things, right? Being positive, taking on difficult roles. Next one. You got to get a mentor. Someone who can advise you, someone who has your interests at heart. Someone who will give you advice, but more importantly than getting a mentor is getting an advocate. An advocate is somebody who actually will go out of their way to pick up the phone call and push your agenda. You know, there are people you know in life are always very good at giving advice. Oh, you must do this, must do that, but then don't do anything. An advocate is somebody that like, you know what? Let me make that phone call for you. I know the guy, call him for you. You need to have friends like that. Okay. Now, mentors and advocates may not necessarily be your senior. They could be your peers, right? Someone who's maybe even more experienced than you. So you must have these people, friends, support functions, people that can support you. So you surround yourself with these sort of people.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting a mentor is also very important.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing, your network.
Yeah.
Networking is very, very important. I'll tell you a story. Many, many years ago in the bank, someone came to me and said, "Hey, Long, I want to join the corporate bank." This person's from the consumer bank. And he said, I asked, "So you want to move to this department? Tell me, who do you know?" He said, "Well, I don't know anybody." I said, "How many years have you been with the bank?" He said, "About 7 years." I said, "So 7 years, you don't know anybody on the other side? Who have you been lunching with?" "Oh, I lunched my team." "Okay, good. Who else?" "Nobody, just my team." Cannot. You must meet people. You must lunch with different people. Your network needs to grow, right? So you cannot just keep within your shell, within your own group. You need to reach out.
Your area of comfort, your comfort zone. Push yourself out of the comfort zone.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So, you know, all these things, what I've said, you know, your networking, your mentor, being positive, taking on different roles, it's just 4 of, you know, some other things, right?
Yeah.
That you need to be able to have yourself. These are part of the attributes for success, and that's how it worked for me. The other thing, I think one important thing that I need to stress is an individual needs to be able to work across all sorts of levels. Right? What does that mean is he needs to be able to work with boss, but also work with colleagues and with junior staff. You cannot only go and work with bosses, you know, you go and paw your boss all the time, manage upwards, as they would say, right? You cannot. You need to work across all levels, you know, and with junior staff, you know, you treat them with respect. Yeah. Also very important. Then people will want to come to you. Then people see you, how you operate. Then people will come and help you. One of the things that one example I always give is what, you know, we talk about EQ, IQ. There's this thing that I pulled out. It's called LQ, which is the likability quotient. Okay. So it is, you know, X and Y axis. You have IQ versus EQ. And if you can break it out into 4 quadrants, you've got people with low IQ, low EQ. Okay, that's very easy, right? Low IQ, low EQ. You know, that one, no one's going to touch them. Then you will have people with high IQ, high EQ. That's very easy. Those are superstars. You don't need to help them. They themselves know what to do. You don't need to worry. Then you will have people with high IQ, low EQ. In life, you've met many people who are very smart, but cannot get along with people, right? Because they are so smart. They think they're better than you. All right. They may get the job, but sometimes they won't. But the survivors, the ones that really do well, are those whose IQ is okay, right? You know, technically okay. No need to be superstar, but with high IQ, the ability to get along with people. EQ, yeah. Those are the ones that people will, if you ask for help, everyone will help them. And remember, what, you know, like your banner question again, right? What you know is one thing. who you know is also very important. So who you know, if people want to help you, you will always go far. All right.
Yeah.
Let's leave it as that. Those 5 points or so in trying to help an individual. You think about your own life, whether you fit into all these things are in your character.
Yes.
And all these things will help you in your career.
I think I totally agree, because I think within our little practice, our group of career advisors, right, we always say there's maximizing a career success relies on a few things. And I think you have already covered actually most of those things really, the importance of EQ. Like you mentioned, you have friends and stuff like that. How do you make friends? You got to make friends because you're likable, like what you mentioned, right? I mean, you have to, yeah. So I think that's all very, very important. I want to also then ask, right, you in many ways were, I guess, a product of Citi, and then you've been there for 3 decades, and then you moved internally. What can you say about the people who are outside the system, who are trying to break in? As in, like, like I'm mid-40s, trying to do a new pivot. Like what you mentioned, I'm going to embrace something new that I've done before, right? And I'm up for it because, heck, I don't have a job, so I might as well try something new, right? So, and here they are, outside of the system, trying to get into the system with a resume that says something totally different the last 10, 15 years, right? And let's be honest, right? I mean, like, if you go through a ATS system or a HR person, commercially, when you look at their resume, what am I looking at, right? So do you have any advice for these people who, like, I want to stand up and I want to be counted, I want to be seen, and I want a chance? Any thoughts on that?
Trying to break into the system is one thing, right? Having the technical knowledge is one. Okay, if, for example, you wanted to do FX trading just for discussion, I'm just using that as a simple example, but you have no background at all, chances are you're not going to get it. Okay, same thing as compliance. If you don't have any experience and all, it's going to be very difficult. I'll be upfront with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So that's where you need to upgrade your skills.
Okay.
Because if it was me, if I was the hiring manager, what I would look for is this. You want to go and do AML or compliance, but your background, you are an engineer, for example. Right? What would I look at? I would look at attitude. In order to move into this new field, did you take it upon yourself to show initiative that you've taken courses, right? To upgrade yourself, to redevelop yourself, to actually show interest in that particular area. Because I'm the hiring manager, right? When I look at a resume like this, I'm like, hey, this person engineer, but you know what? On his own time, he continued to upgrade himself, continued to learn, because he showed interest. Then there's a greater chance that I'll pick this individual, right? Because as compared to somebody who's like, I want to go in there. Why? Because it pays well. It's not going to work, huh?
Yeah, I think the difficulty for us as a team as well is that because we work with a very specific population of, say, mid-careerists who are not, they're kind of like too senior to take something junior, or as perceived by the market, or too junior to do something totally different. So many of them actually do upskill, but I guess you can't run away from the shadow of your previous career. Like, like one of the things I get a lot, right, is I get a lot of retail RMs saying, man, I don't want to do sales anymore. What can I do? Lots of them, plenty. And, because they are such great salespeople in the past, but now Lao Hong already don't do anymore, right? They say, what else can I do? So, okay, man, credit marketing, maybe go to credit, right? So how like that? Yeah.
So the way I would position this is, right, most people don't really know what they want to do. Okay, that's how I see it. The advice I would give is you have to pick areas that you love doing, areas of your own interest, not necessarily what you want to do, because what you want to do sometimes may not fit your personality. I've had these conversations many times. I speak at universities and I ask, show of hands, how many of you want to be a trader? Oh, half the class put up their hand. How many of you want to be an investment banker? Wow, half put up the hand, right? But then do they really know what it is to be a FX trader? Do they really know what it is to become an investment banker? As a junior investment banker, if you're starting out, it's all about paperwork, right? It's about details. If you're not good with details, don't, please.
DCFs every day, Excel
Yeah,
monkey.
and then
Yeah.
if you want to go, if you are the 9 to 5 type person, you want to go to investment banking, forget it. Investment banking is 18-hour days, right? So you got to know exactly what you want, right? And when I say love what you're doing, and then you'll become successful, I just use my own example, right? You know, I'm after 57 years, I've kind of diagnosed myself with ADHD. I'm a bit ADHD. I was reading up some papers last year about this kid that did some flips in the Rhino pen, right? And then I said, hey, you know, check the box here. This guy was this guy is that, check. And I say, hey, I'm a bit like that. So I went to my doctor friend who happens to be my primary 1 classmate. So I've known him for 50 years, right? So I say, hey, Jit, you know, I think I'm ADHD. You know what he says to me? What are you talking about? Everyone knows you're ADHD. Everyone knows you're ADHD. So if you're ADHD or you have some sort of disorder, right? You cannot focus, you're doing, how come then I've done well in my career? It's because I ended up in the dealing room. In the dealing room, it's about market volatility. It's about movements all the time. No 2 days are the same. All right? It is about a changing environment. Given my personality, given my, disorder, inverted commas, if I gone into a compliance role, right, I could never do it. It's, reading a lot. I think I'm on the spectrum of being dyslexic as well. So, but, the reality is, if I went to ONT and did processing, I think I would die. I would have failed. So for 25 years, I was in an environment that was ever changing, right? Was ambiguous, was volatile, right? Was complex. So I just happened to get into an area which I love doing.
Because it fit you.
It fit my personality.
Yeah.
And that happened to be by chance.
Mm.
So I would put it to all the participants here that you've got to look at your own personality and look at what you want to do, not what you want to do, but what you like or love doing. I lucked out. Okay, because I happened to go into the department and it's like, hey, it suited me, man. It's so natural for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I totally understand it. Yeah.
So for you, self-reflect. Everyone on this call, self-reflect.
Yeah.
And if it is an area of interest, you will take the extra mile, right? You'll go the extra mile to learn about that topic. Right? It could have started off as a hobby.
Yeah.
So, and then now bring it in to the workplace.
I think it's a very good point also because, working with people, a lot of them are looking to seek a new career, but then I think they're latching onto something because it's the hot thing, but not necessarily because it appeals to their personality, like you mentioned, right? And we always tell them that got to be very careful with that because that one can be a divorce waiting to happen at some point. And so yeah, I mean, like I love what you said about the whole working on your strengths and your personality. I think I totally feel that way because I think what I do now, I get massive pleasure from what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm with you.
You got to get satisfaction out of your job.
I do, yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody here should listen to those words. I mean, these are tough days for sure, but we've always recommended to people that if you find a role, you should find a role where the elements of that role play to your strengths to as much as possible. So I think it's very important. Now, listening to your dialogue on lucking out and having all these wonderful things. I don't know. I mean, can we talk a little about like setbacks, for example? I mean, come on, setbacks, professional setbacks, right? I mean, many of perhaps people here, they are maybe in that position right now. I mean, professional setback. I just lost my job, man, like last week or whatever it is, right? I'm in a space right now. I mean, can you recall like maybe a setback and how you overcame that setback? Is there an example that you might have?
I wouldn't call it a setback.
Okay.
No, it's not so much setback, but putting in difficult situations like AML, right? The bank asks you to do something that you don't really want to do.
Enough. Yeah.
Right. Then you're like, yo, what? It's not something I want. Right. So I think for people on this call who are at crossroads, ask yourself, how resilient are you? What is your adversity quotient like? You're down now, right? You're down. What are you doing about it? There are very simple things. You can sit and life is unfair. My boss didn't like me. I got fired, right? Or, you can sit there and mope all day, and, I just hope that something happens. Or you can get up, start looking out, being positive, take this opportunity to recharge, take 3 weeks off, 1 month off, recharge, start re-looking at areas that you want to do, be positive, right? Apply to roles. You might get knocked down, but keep at it, right? Pick up skills that into an area that you think that you would enjoy doing, right?
Speak to a career coach.
Yourself.
Yeah.
I got this little saying, right, about continuous learning. As long as the goal is to be better today than you were yesterday. Okay, be better. You try to be better today than you were yesterday. That means continuous learning. Be positive. Reach out to all your contacts. Apply for roles. I know it's not easy. It's easy for me to say. You'll say, oh, you're in this comfortable job. I know it's not easy, but effort. You'll be surprised. When I hire people based on their resilience. Okay, so what does resilience mean? Back in, I would say 12 years ago, maybe, there was a management associate interview program, which I interviewed. And there was this candidate that came to me and came out of SMU. I think it was SMU. She comes from a broken home, right? Single parent family. Mom was a hawker. And I asked her, tell me more about yourself. She said, come from a broken home. After school, I go and help my mom at the hawker stall. Then I also give tuition to help supplement the income to put me through school. I'm also captain of the netball team or something like that. And then in my free time, I give time for charity organizations. So I look at this individual, I say, you know what? Quite a resilient person. I didn't even ask what course you're doing. I looked at personality and whether the person is, how the person faced adversity, how positive the person was. It doesn't matter the surrounding environment. When I want to hire, I look for people who are like that, right? With a can-do attitude that, it doesn't matter. There's a storm going around me. I still stand up and be challenged and try and get things done. So check yourself on your resilience, right? On whether or not what sort of attitude you have in the way forward.
Yeah.
Being positive is the key to everything.
I think also, like again, shameless self-promotion, right? Like one of the things also that we work with people is, the question of how do I even get in front of Lung? How do I even get through that process or the system where I ultimately get to meet Long, to see whether, okay, Ken, let's hire this guy. We always say that, or at least I always say, I don't know about my colleagues, I always tell people, I mean, obviously it starts with that resume, and then the resume, like what you mentioned, how do you translate resilience into the resume? And I think that the example you just gave is so similar to the kind of like the sample resume that I designed when I was teaching at NUS some time ago, right? And I always tell people that the best bullet points are the ones that are born by fire, as in like literally, like, when you read it, you can't believe someone survived through this, and right. So again, I think it's a very enforcing thing that you said, like when you write something like plain and all, nothing, run of the mill, but if you write something so terrifying, it kind of like says something about you in terms of your ability to handle things, and things like that. So really do appreciate, again, not rehearsed, whatever he's saying is coming right, straight and organically. Okay, so the next thing, again, another very big topic that I want to talk about, again, might preclude me from ever working with Citi, but I want to talk about ageism. Okay, it's a huge elephant in the room. Okay, so I've always believed, you dispute me if I'm wrong, I've always believed that the larger the organization, the more hierarchical it must be, right? So analysts 20s, associates mid to late 20s, VPs 30s, directors late 30s, MDs can be 30s, even 40s. Here comes some guy after doing a 9-month course, 40 years old, used to be a VP, say, hey, Lung, I'm really okay to become an associate and AVP. But then when a proposition comes like that, right, I always feel, again, maybe I'm wrong, it just rocks the boat in terms of, I can't think that way because the machinery is oiled in a certain way. The machinery is carved in a certain way where we have this, what's your take on that? I mean, sorry, put you on the spot, but I'm just curious.
I think it depends on the role that you're after, and you got to be realistic about things. Right? So the older you are, maybe take private banking, for example. If you are a 25-year-old, 28-year-old, 30-year-old, and you say, I want to be in private banking, yeah, it's possible, but will a multi-millionaire trust you with his money? A 20-something-year-old? It's a no, right? But if you're older, 40-something, even 50, right, have more gray hair, and you retrain yourself, probably more appropriate for private banking, for example. Or if you are in your mid and you enjoy processing, you like a 9-to-5 type role, or 8-to-6 type role, operations is probably a more appropriate role for you. If you are 50s and you say, you know what, I want to be an FX trader, we got to be realistic, right? So you have to play within your age group also, and whether the job itself fits the age group. Age is, in Singapore, there's no, we keep extending our retirement age.
Yeah.
It's 65 now. I won't be surprised if it goes to 68. So like I said before, if you look at me, for example, I'm 58, but the way I behave, you can ask some of my colleagues that are on this call today, I'm in my 40s,
Yeah.
The way my energy level, the way I interact with people. So it is not about age. Age is that number. I know it sounds like cliche, but it's a number. It is your attitude towards life, your attitude towards people, how you treat people, right? Who you hang out with, and all. Right? So it's nothing to do with age. Of course, there are certain jobs where age comes into play, but we have to be realistic, right? After a certain age, you cannot do certain things, lah.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be a professional footballer at 55, ain't going to happen.
If I blow out your back, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to hear, and it's good to hear your perspective about these things, because I think also we've always worried that it is actually an issue, because it's the fit and
So one thing, let me interrupt you there. I
Yep.
was thinking about this question about ageism and all, and hiring, right? If I was a manager and if I was hiring, I would want to know, what makes you different from the person next to you?
Mm.
How interesting you are, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have nothing special about you, it's going to be very difficult.
Mm.
So you have to be interesting. And the interesting part, sometimes it doesn't get past HR, right? Because your CV says, this is my qualification, I
Yeah.
did this.
Yeah.
And to your earlier point, you need to put things in there that differentiates yourself from someone else. What you did, it could be charity work. A lot of people miss out a lot of things, right? There are the social interaction piece outside, outside of their CV. They miss out their interest, their passion. So I think it's very important when you do your CV, you need to have that, you need to be able to communicate who you are, not just what, right? But who you are, how authentic you are.
Authenticity. Yeah, that's a key thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I interview people, I also look at cultural fit.
Yep.
Whether they can fit into the organization, right? Which is very, very important.
Yeah. And on the topic of just something that came to my mind, you mentioned like RMs, 25 versus the gray hairs. Are you able to kind of like, I don't know if it's a fair question, but apart from RMs, right? I mean, at PB level, obviously it's AUMs, right? But are there any areas you feel are growing, within like PB, where the barriers of entry may not necessarily be so high? Like, for example, high barriers of entry would be something like data science. Wow, it's like rocket science, huh? That one's high. But any thoughts on like areas that have lower barriers to entry that now friends here perhaps can maybe keep an eye out, and things like that? Yeah.
Again, right? On the retail side,
Mm-hmm.
sales is always in need of people.
Agree.
And okay, let's just take sales for example as a example.
Yeah.
So if you are applying for a sales job, what would the hiring manager be looking for? To me, right, if I were the hiring manager, first thing I look for is enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm.
How much energy do you have? How do you sit, for example, right? How fast you walk, you slouch, you take your time, you walk in, how you speak. I mean, obviously when I'm speaking, you can tell I'm a sales guy, right? I'm like super energy, too much caffeine, right? But I'm very excited. I want to get things going. And let me tell you, that sort of energy, it translates and it cuts across and it transmits to the interviewer. It transmits to your colleagues, So when you go for a sales job, it's not so much the technical knowledge. Let's say you want to apply for a retail sales job in a bank. Most of the technical things the bank will teach you. You have to go for courses anyway, right? So all that is taken care of. You will learn. But what they want to see is positive attitude, what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are things within your control. Things within your control, making sure you show up on time for the interview. Right? How you look. Important. Not, just about the job, how great a salesperson you are. Great salespeople are usually highly initiated.
Yeah.
Right? High energy, passionate about doing a particular job well, right? Getting things moving, right? As compared to I keep watching your time. Hey, what time can I go back? What time can I go back? And if you have the energy and at the interview, let me tell you, that's the first thing that the hiring manager will see, that you are someone that can chong, that can run.
Yeah.
And that's got nothing to do with technical knowledge. Yeah.
And I was just noticing as well that we have a slew of questions coming in, and I'm just noticing the time as well. So I'm just gonna start diving into some of these questions, Long, if you don't mind.
Sure.
These questions, I'm just eyeballing them. They don't look particularly easy, but we're gonna try. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. Okay, so this question from Irene.
Okay.
Irene, you asked, it seems like the key to your growth is courage to accept new challenges despite not having the requisite knowledge or experience. You found ways to lead these new areas despite the superficial lack. Do you experience insecurities, and how do you overcome these? Think
You're
about
right.
compliance,
You're right.
AML.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not easy.
Not easy, tough, no. Some more, yeah.
Irene. Okay, very good. When I reflect, I would reflect on my AML experience, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that you're gonna say that.
I have no idea, okay, about AML.
Yeah.
I've got my colleague Cho Gyok on this line. He's
Oh,
laughing.
so funny.
He's laughing, right? He's our compliance head.
I'm also laughing, man. Yeah.
He's laughing in loan compliance. You got to be kidding me. So I'm tapped and asked to do a job that I have zero experience in.
Yep.
What did I do? One, I made friends in the department.
Mhm.
And I can name those friends till today. Insan, Faradina, May, Hyong, all these people I surrounded myself with. I learned from them. When you go into a new job, remember the first thing, humility. I went in as a senior, right? As a senior, you go in, people think you are here to save the day. I was supposed to go there and save the day, but the reality is you go in there, you have no idea what's going on, right?
You ruined the day.
Yeah. So you learn. You learn by asking questions, and you learn by listening. And you have to take a step down to say that I don't know. Can you teach me? And let me tell you, most people would. If you show humility, most people will be more than happy to help you. So for me, if I use that example, one, surrounding myself with good people, asking questions and asking stupid questions as well. Because most of the time, sometimes we don't dare ask stupid questions because I'll look stupid, right? But you ask, and then in the background, you learn. You read whatever manuals, you go online, you learn, you upgrade yourselves. You have to take a step back and humble yourself. That's the only way, because you're already in that situation.
Yeah, I get you. It's like, I think her question is a bit like imposter syndrome lah. Like, oh my God, I'm like thrown into this thing that I have no clue. Why was I even selected for this role? That kind of thing lah. And how do you deal with it? Which is, you give a good answer to that. So the next question I got from Supaya. Oh, he did his homework. Hi, Lung. Congratulations for being one of the 7 FIA VPs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to get hired. Okay. Can you share your insight on how an Asian leader is able to break into an un-Asian leadership environment? And what is the top 3 traits required by Asian leaders? That's part 2, no? When do you know that you're winning? When do you know that you are winning not through corporate recognition? I guess the second question is, when do you know that you're actually doing the right thing now?
What's the first question?
First question is
breaking into
how an Asian leader is able to break into an un-Asian leadership environment. So Citi is American, you're Asian. I'm guessing that's the thing, the angle here.
I don't know. I think it's more towards the FIA piece, right?
Up to you.
Probably. Yeah, because within Asia, within Citi is not an issue, right? It's a very diverse corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
There is diversity.
Mm-hmm.
There is openness to. There's no gender or color or
biases.
Biases.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pure meritocracy. Okay, so that's the environment Citi is. Okay, so take that out of the equation.
Yep.
But we make it more generic, FIA. So I'm the vice president for motorsports for Asia Pacific. Historically, this organization is run out of Europe.
Yes.
right? So very Caucasian, very Europe-centric. I think in this particular case, the membership, which are all the various countries in the clubs, wanted change. Historically, it's always been someone from Europe, French, English, that was president. Now we have someone
Emirates.
from the Middle East, Mohammed bin Sulaim. Are you kidding me? This is like, but you see, he's got credibility. Firstly, let's talk about Mohammed. First, 14-time World Rally Champion or Middle East champion. So firstly, he's got technical know-how.
Yeah.
Secondly, he's been around the system for a long time. His network is great. He takes the trouble to call people up, network, talk to people, reaching out to people before people reach out to him. You know?
Yeah.
Personality-wise, great EQ. You know? So again, this happens to be all the traits that I talked about, the network.
Correct.
You know, the ability to have mentors, to, you know, don't wait, to have a proactive approach, right? So the traits, whether it's in work or outside organization, are the same. Positive network, the ability to mix around, you know, being respectful of people, all that is part and parcel of success. Yeah. So what was the second part of the question?
The second part of the question is basically how do you, I guess what I'm interpreting is like, how do you know that you're winning, which means how do you know that you're successful at the first question, I guess. Yeah.
I think when people when people actually tell you that you're doing a good job.
A good job?
Yeah, that's one.
Okay.
And you will know when you're not doing a good job because in 4 years' time, I don't get re-elected.
Yeah. Easy. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take another question. But at this juncture, can I just ask Elisa to deploy the survey? Guys, for those of you who are new to us, we always deploy this survey. Very, very simple. Take you 30 seconds to do it. But it gives us an idea of whether or not you're enjoying the programming and the stuff that you and what other things that you want to see in the future. So if you just do the survey, Lung, you don't have to do it. We can't do it. Only the participants can do it. Yeah, I would appreciate it. We would appreciate it.
Yeah, okay.
Get the survey done while I ask Lung some more questions. Okay. So these questions are, let me see. These questions are hard, man. Okay. Okay. Here is the I totally agree with Mr. Lee's view. This is from Anonymous.
Nobody calls me Mr. Lee.
Okay, he did, so you know.
Yeah, this person. Nobody calls me Mr. Lee. You must call me Long. That's it. Okay. It's just one word. Long. You know, Long like Sting, Adele, Madonna. Prince.
Oh gosh. Okay, I get you.
One word, Long. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So I totally agree with Lung's view that people need to work well up, down, and across, right? However, increasingly companies are exiting older leaders and installing younger leaders, 30s and early 40s. In senior roles who are less mature or less confident, and therefore their priority is to have employees manage up to them well, and nothing else matters. Wow. What's your opinion on how employees can manage this? Do you get the question? I'm sort of.
So I kind of got the bit, right?
Okay.
So if you are in a situation whereby, let's say you are in your late 40s, and you got a young upstart, early 40s, late 30s that's nipping on your heels, right?
Yeah.
Who finds your job, for example.
Yeah.
Firstly, you need to understand your position.
Yeah.
You must always be self-aware of what your standing is in the organization. Your role. If you think that you've got a role for life, not going to happen in this day and age. Okay. But if you are self-aware that you know that someone is there. Now, there are two ways you can do it. First one, you go and fire the guy that works for you, right? Which is not the right approach, okay? Or you continue to upgrade yourself. Make yourself more relevant.
Yep.
The problem I see historically is people get comfortable, okay? When you get too comfortable in your job, you start slacking off, you start slipping, and people around you notice.
Yeah.
your boss notices,
Yeah.
that's when you get into trouble. But if you're always on the ball, you're always sharp, always upgrading, right? Continue to partner and collaborate to a point where people need you, you will not end up in that position. I've seen in my organization and many other organizations, people just become too comfortable.
Mhm.
And when things are asked of them, they are like, you know what, don't worry about it. I reply you in 3 days' time.
Mhm.
In this day and age,
This day and age, yeah.
cannot. Okay, cannot.
You heard it from the man himself. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. So let's take Andre's question.
Yeah.
Andre's question. Okay. Andre Lim.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for arranging this session. Okay. Welcome. I'm now in my mid-50s.
Yes.
Worked 30 years.
Yes.
Mostly in manufacturing operations in middle
Yes.
management roles.
Yep.
Now I'm job seeking, trying
Yep.
to pivot into financial services,
Mm.
taken financial advisory modules,
Good.
wanting to hear your advice from Lung and Adrian, leave Adrian out of this, about the pivot steps to take, which roles, functions to start. I know it's very, understand technically it's difficult, so likely more towards people interaction type of roles. Appreciate your thoughts and advice. Quite a broad question, to be honest. Yeah, quite a broad question.
You go to financial services, it's huge. It's very broad.
Very big, yeah.
Yeah, are you in sales? Are you in compliance, governance? Are you in, operations? What? So very hard to dimension.
Quite broad,
You have to check yourself also. What are your interest areas? Right? Your personality type. If you are shy, soft-spoken, or introverted, maybe. I'm not sure whether sales is the right place. Right? So that's one. You have to, I like the idea that you continue to upgrade yourself. I like the idea that you are looking for new roles in the financial sector. The question is, financial services in itself is an old business. And in my opinion, it's getting smaller because of technology. Right? Things like online trading as compared to being a broker-dealer in the past.
Yeah.
Your skill sets, the modules that you take, are they relevant to today's environment? I think it's very important, right? If you went to learn about banking 101, chances are it's already outdated. Be more specific. What exactly within financial services is it that you want to get into? Is it financial products? Is it about trust? Is it mortgages? Is it foreign exchange? Is it about mutual funds, selling mutual funds?
Yeah.
What is it? Or is it sales in general, right? Or is it your personality type? Are you into relationship management?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Which means that your personality needs to be able to get along with clients. The technical skills can come. The problem is at the gate, right? You are a manufacturing background, you want to try and break into financial. Let me tell you, the easiest way is take a step down and join front office. Yeah, I'm assuming certain personality.
You're making some assumptions, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, making certain assumptions, right? Like if sales, take a sales job. Because you will have, in a sales role, your numbers will prove yourself, your worth. Right? And in sales job, if you show the right character, you will get through the door. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you're in your 50s, like me, let's say I got fired tomorrow, I would apply for a sales job. I think I'll do well. No, seriously, I think I will do well.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'll go and apply to a competitor bank and become a sales guy.
Makes
based on
perfect
my
sense.
personality.
Yeah,
Right.
your natural God-given skill sets, right? As in, like, you have to work those, I think. I mean, and that's the path of least resistance, because any other thing would be
And I
against the grain.
enjoy, right? I enjoy
Yeah,
working with
yeah.
people. I enjoy spending time with people. I enjoy, building relationships.
Yeah, because the converse would be, compliance, which is against the grain, perhaps, and maybe
Yeah,
very
don't say
painful. Sorry.
on the
Oh,
line.
okay.
The
So I say
compliance.
sometimes I say I would, I cannot mark already. But anyway, okay. This one is interesting. Wow, this one is like, wow, this one fierce. Anonymous attendee, you have an inspiring story of working your way up based on hard and good work. What is your advice for people competing against bootlickers and nepotism?
Ah,
And they succeed on that basis? Come.
no. It's true. We've seen this. We've seen this in life.
Mm.
Reality is, they are everywhere. There's a famous story, right? We got jokes. The organization, not my organization, other organization, whereby you have people who hang out around the corridors of the bosses, right? Waiting for the boss to come out, and then they go up to the boss. Hey, boss, this is what I did there. See how good I am, right? They just hang around the corridors. You know what we call them? They're called Hooverines.
Wolverines, is it?
People who hover around the corridors.
Oh,
waiting
okay.
to makan the boss.
So fun.
So it happens.
Mhm.
The question I put is this the type of organization that you want to work for? That's a fundamental question. If it is against your philosophy, is it what you want to work for? Is that the type of organization you want to work for? That, Chinese New Year must give cookies to the boss, right? Like you must be part and parcel of the boss's mahjong kaki, must be with the boss in a circle. I would never work for that sort of organization. Get out. No, I'm telling you, that kind of environment is toxic.
I think it's a negative iteration of the who you know versus what you know, right? Because because you suck at the boss, or you know the boss, who you know, becomes the negative power, basically, right? Get you. Okay. On the other side of the spectrum, I think this person's a fresh grad. Hi, Lung, do you have any advice for fresh grads looking to break into the banking industry? How can I expand my network in this field? And on a lighter note, which F1 team do you support? Good question.
Okay, so let's take the easier, the second question first. So I cannot state, because now I'm FIA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the governing body, so I'm neutral. I'm neutral. I have
Remember your compliance training, yeah.
So I have to be neutral now. I cannot state which team I like. But previously, before I took on the FIA role, right, I was a Ferrari, what do you call it, a supporter lah.
Okay.
Because nice red cars, and then Schumacher was my time lah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Apply to all the necessary jobs out there. I don't expect young graduates to stay with an organization for 32 years. I'll be honest with you. Right? Those of us who stay over 20 years are a rare breed lah. But I'm quite resigned to the fact that it's not the culture these days. So apply to all the financial institutions. Pick, if five pick you, choose the one that you want to, based on culture, based on where you think you can learn the most. Right? And for your first 5 years of your career, all I say, and this is to any career, is to go and learn.
Yeah.
Be a sponge. Pick up as much knowledge as possible, and continue to, upgrade yourself.
Upgrade yourself, yeah.
Now, and then, when opportunity comes and you need to move, then move. But if you happen to like the organization that you're in, stay with the organization.
And I also, that this one came in, I think I know this person, Loy Ng. I'm not sure, is it you, Anna? But okay, so hi, Mr. Lee. Does it mean, again, sorry, she called you Mr. Lee, not me. Does it mean that if we have wrongly chosen what we did previously, which is in her case, sales for 10 years, for example, does it mean that our career is finished? How can we
No,
switch to
of
things like
course you
credit
can switch.
ops? Quite heavy lah, this one. This
Yeah,
one, I don't think this is wrong lah, but
of
yeah.
course you can switch.
Mm.
It's never too late to switch. The question is, how do you switch?
How do you switch? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's how you switch, right? It's a matter of who you know again, right? If you after 10 years you realize, hey, salah, wrong department, right?
10 years, wow, okay.
No, that's okay, right?
Mm.
It's still a lot of runway. Then who do you know in other parts of the organization that you have networked with to try and get into an area that you think will suit your personality, right? And what you think you will enjoy doing. Because when you enjoy doing something, it's no longer a job, right? It is just part and parcel of your life.
Yeah.
See, for example, myself, right? I wake up every morning like 5:30 in the morning. Why? Because I can't wait to get to the office. I go and have breakfast, at kopitiam at like 6:30.
Yeah, you text me at 6:40, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I have my breakfast, then go to the office, meet people and whatnot. But I enjoy doing it. So when you enjoy your work, it's not a job. You know what I'm saying? It's just doing stuff.
Yeah. It's just another enjoyable facet of your life.
Yeah, I was looking at myself in the video, right? And I was like jumping around, my hands are moving because I'm excited. When I speak to all of you, I feel very excited and enthused about sharing, about life, about, how work can, hopefully can encourage you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the reason why I kind of approached you in the first place. And I think everything wraps up in this nice thing where you cover a lot of things about the personality, EQ and all this good stuff. And also about being networking ready and proactive. And for everyone that's here, I didn't know Lung before I reached out to him. I didn't know that I could just reach out to my boss Namsin to get to you. I just reached out to you because that's me, right? I'm just like that lah. So
yeah, right?
Just reach out, right? So I think this is a habit that we encourage, especially in an environment like this where it's so competitive. I think you really need to push, and being passive is no longer a choice.
Must be a bit thick skin.
A bit, yeah, that's why.
And very most what happens, no lah.
No answer lah. Yeah,
no
correct
answer
lah. Yeah.
So let me, before we wrap, I think it's about time to wrap up, right?
Yeah, before we wrap, yeah.
So one thing that, we talked about work.
Yeah.
Right? I would say most of the time we spoke about work, correct? I think one thing that we should not miss out is, and I always say this, you got to get a life as well.
Life, yeah.
Don't just work. Have fun outside of the office. Okay? Like for me, I can tell you, and I tell you how it works in my favor. How it works in my favor. I've got so many interests, right? For those of you who've like Googled me or whatever, right? Firstly, I play football still. At my age, I still play football.
Yeah.
Right? I golf, right?
Drums.
I play the drums. I race go-karts. I just came back from Malaysia because I flew to Malaysia to race, right? And I won, right? In the Malaysian karting championship. And then I'm a musician, like I say, I play for Phua Chu Kang, I play for weddings, that sort of thing. I sit on various boards. I sit on my board of my university, Chaminade in Hawaii. I also sit on my secondary school board, right? Here. I'm on FIA. But what does this mean? I mean, it means that I've learned new things outside of work. And when I speak to clients, let me tell you, I can talk about anything.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Yeah, anything about it, right? Because if your interests are really wide, if you got wide interests, you can talk about a lot of things. You want to talk about music, you want to talk about food, right? You want to talk about sports, right? And being interesting, and clients and people like interesting people, right? If I gave this example to, I think, Business Times long time ago. If your only interest is in underwater basket weaving.
What? Okay.
Underwater basket weaving, right? Let's say it was that. you're not going to have many friends.
Mm-hmm.
Not much of conversation, right? Because dealing with clients, dealing with people is a bit like dating. When you are talking to an individual, you try to find points of intersection, points of connection, right?
Yeah.
Then you want to talk. But if your only interest is in underwater basketball, the conversation not going to go very far.
Yeah. I get
Right?
you. Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
So,
I mean, like, yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, work is work. But you got to have life outside of work so that you don't burn out.
Yeah.
It also makes you a more interesting individual.
I think we call it balance as well, like just a balanced
You
lifestyle.
can call it
Yeah.
work-life balance, work-life integration. You can call it what you want, but just
all work and no play makes Lung a dull boy, right?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, the last question I really had was, parting words for anyone who's here today. And I'm not going to give you a hint, but I really kind of like the wet tire, dry tire thing that you did. If you still remember that go-kart thing about
luck, is it?
No, I mean like you were racing and then the guy that decided to go wet tire, dry tire. That'd be great. Yeah. So basically the idea is to give some, I think that would be a wonderful story, but it's up to you to give people that don't count yourself out before, don't count the chickens before they hatch. That's what you said.
So this is
parting words from Lung. Yeah.
It's just an example, right? I raced in 2018. There was this particular race in 2018 and it started raining. And I was always ahead of the pack, way ahead of the pack, a good 1-2 seconds ahead. And then there was one individual by the name of Arno, the French guy. It was round 6 of the Road Tech series in Malaysia. He was the slowest guy on track, 2 seconds behind. Okay. It rained. Okay. So track was wet. I go on wet tires, right? I get on the track. Arno goes on dry tires. I'm like, wow, damn brave, this guy. On dry tires. Race starts. I mean, the rain stopped already, but it's still patchy, wet.
Yeah.
It's a 20-lap race. I go out. I start driving. After 2 laps, I realized, finished. Okay, because I'm on the wrong set of tires. By lap 15, Arno catches up already. And right from the beginning, he was the slowest guy on track throughout the whole weekend. But by taking some risk, he slaps on dry tires and wins the race.
Oh man, that's such an incredible analogy for
so
awesome.
The thing is, you must be able to take risk.
Yeah.
You must be able to have a bit of luck as well, right?
That's exactly exactly.
Right?
Though I could not think of better parting words than that. I mean, like for everyone out there who is going through a situation, you're feeling a bit of like an underdog. What Lung just mentioned really inspired me when I saw it. So I guess those are great parting words. And also for those of you who have not followed, the reason why I know all of this stuff is because I see his videos, and so for those of you who don't know him, my advice is to go and follow him on LinkedIn. I am thinking among my team members, I'm like, wow, my connection, so many, 3,000-4,000. You have 20,000. So like, I'm super shy right now. So for those people who don't know him yet, feel free to follow, because lots and lots of nuggets of wisdom, which is again the reason why I tapped you in the first place, because I think there's a lot of relatable stuff. And so with that, I know that Lung has a management meeting shortly after. I want to thank you for your time, Lung, and your generosity. And I hope everybody here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And to all the participants here today, I wish you the best of luck. Wish you great success in your careers. And remember, right? And I'll quote, there is no secret ingredient. Okay, this is very famous words by Kung Fu Panda's father. Okay, there is no secret ingredient.
Gosh.
It is all about what I said, about the network, the positive attitude, right? The network, getting the mentor, and getting a life. All right.
Awesome. Amen.
All right.
Okay, so everybody, thank you for joining us. And until the next programming, we'll see you soon. Thank you again, Lung. Have a good rest of the day and look forward to maybe a part 2 at some point. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.